If you look into my eyes, you might see straight into my heart. Can we just be friends? Can we all get along? Burns in me, lives in you. If love is what I want, I need to offer it to you. You and I are one. We are one.
That is a brand new song that is called Can't We Get Along. That's sung by Nashville artist Wendy Moten. But the song is written and the music produced by the legendary Pat Boone, who, as we were talking earlier in the show, is one of the most iconic performers in so many genres of the entertainment world. One of the most successful recording artists with 45 million records sold, 38 top 40 hits, 12 Hollywood films. He had his own television show, the Pat Boone Chevy Showroom. The list of accolades goes on. And what a pleasure it is to welcome Pat Boone to WGN. Hello there, my friend.
Hello, Dean, and I am so, I'm here with my dog Shadow, and me and my Shadow, just he and I. And when he hears me say hello, he looks at the door, thinks somebody's coming in.
Yeah.
I tell you, you had me in tears just now, hearing the words of that song, which I felt in 1991 were given to me after Rodney King, was badly beaten, almost killed, and of course it was on video, and it sparked the L.A. riots back then. And he was resisting arrest, yes, but he didn't deserve the bashing that he got, and he could have said very inflammatory things when he came out of the hospital recovering and faced the press. Instead, he said, with his voice cracking, "Can't we get along? Can't we be friends?" And
yeah.
Dean, to hear you play that on WGN, and that line that came to me, that if you look right in my eyes, you may see straight into my heart, is the theme. And I just to hear it there on the classic station on a Sunday morning, and having had something to do with it, being sort of the conduit, is very moving to me. I want you to know.
Yeah, well, I got to tell you, I mean, the fact that you're involved with this is great, but there aren't too many songs that come along that really touch you and that are so poignant with what's going on in the world, and that's what this song, "Can't We Get Along." I mean, there is no better time for a song like this.
Oh man, we need it so, and some have put it down, saying, "Well, we need more than a nice song." Yeah, but if you've seen the video, which is the reason we're well over 1 million views in about 8 days, just off my Facebook page. I mean, that's miraculous, and we're just getting started. Really, it's going viral nationally and maybe even internationally because of the message. Because how can we make change unless we first acknowledge each other as equal? As the song says, "The flame that burns in me lives in you." We're all created by the same God, and supposedly with equal rights and opportunities. And unless we recognize that fully and reach out to each other. Have you seen the video that goes with the song?
I did. Yeah, I did. It's
well, those were newsreel footages. You know, those were actual clips of people doing the things the song is calling for right in the middle of the horrific riots, you know, which, of course, were tearing Chicago, Minneapolis, Atlanta, all these other cities apart.
Right. I know that this must be a very passionate project for you. Having come up in the entertainment business in the 1950s and 60s when civil rights was such an issue, and riots and disturbances that were going on in the United States was such a big thing. I mean, you must have experienced and viewed injustices and things going on in the world around you as you were coming up as a young man in show business.
Of course. Listen, I was born in Jacksonville, Florida. I was raised in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm a, born and bred Southerner. I knew the problems, but I was surrounded. I worked for my dad, a building contractor, alongside young black guys. We were laborers. We were both pushing wheelbarrows full of cement, building hospitals and churches and homes. And I was a day laborer right along with these other guys, and they were football players. They were bigger and stronger than I was. And yet I was taking my turn with a wheelbarrow full of cement and digging ditches. And we became friends instantly. And I realized that this blindness, the prejudice that has afflicted not just the South, but the whole country, but even in members of my own family. When I was doing my Pat Boone Chevy show you mentioned, and I was absolutely thrilled at 22, 23, the youngest guy ever to have his own musical variety show, and having people like Ella Fitzgerald and Nat King Cole and Johnny Mathis and Sammy Davis and Mills Brothers and even then my buddies Little Richard and Fats and all come on my show and sing with me. I was just in hog heaven, as we used to say down south. And then one day, the biggest entertainer in the world, Harry Belafonte, in my third season, called me, and he said, I like the way you treat your guests, was the way he put it. And he said, would you like me to come on and sing with you? And I said, Harry, of course, or Mr. Belafonte.
Right.
But when I let the Chevy Show people and ABC know that the biggest entertainer in the world wanted to come on the show with me, I got these stony looks. Well, no, we're going to have to say no. I said, what are you talking about?
Wow.
Well, because Mr. Belafonte is very active now in civil rights, and your show, because you're having so many black performers, is really causing problems for Chevrolet in the South.
Wow.
Their dealers are complaining that some of their customers are going to switch over to Ford because you keep having so many black performers. And I was stunned. I mean, I was raised in Nashville, but I thought all of that stuff was, vanishing. So when they said, no, you have to say you can't have Harry Belafonte, I said, guys, it says it's the Pat Boone Chevy Show. But if I have to say no to the biggest entertainer in the world because of the color of his skin or because he is espousing civil rights, then it's not the Pat Boone Show. So thank you. I'm going to have to ask you to get somebody to take the show from here.
Wow.
And it's been fun. And now they look at me like they can't believe it. You're going to walk off the show for that?
Right.
I said, it's not just for that, guys. It's bigger than that. It's bigger than this. It's a problem, and I'm not going to feed it. I'm not going to be part of it. And so I'd like to say that it happened, but it was the end of my third season. I decided not to continue with the half-hour format, went to specials, and Harry was already booked elsewhere, so we never got to have what I had hoped for. But I did have so many things with, Count Basie, Sammy Davis, Nat Cole, Ella Fitzgerald, and I was just wallowing in it. And so ever since, of course, as an entertainer, I can't help it. I'm a songwriter and a singer. When things happen that are of national, drastic importance, when Martin Luther King was assassinated, I wrote his words to a melody and recorded it. I had a dream, and yet because it was me, it just didn't seem like something that Pat Boone would do.
Yeah.
People didn't know me, But I eventually introduced that song and the video with it in support of Martin Luther King, the night of CORE, Congress on Racial Equality's 40th anniversary celebration, the night before Barack Obama was being sworn in the next day, on January 20th, as the first black president. I was asked to MC by Roger Ennis and Niger, his son, the 40th anniversary celebration for CORE. Now, I wouldn't have been asked to do that, nor would I have felt so honored to do it, if I hadn't been very active right along the way during all the time that we were trying to come out of this stupid prejudice that still afflicts so many of us.
Right.
And we've just got to come through it, got to come out of it. And I think, well, of course, hope springs eternal. I keep thinking that if we will continue to meet and communicate with, and on the video, as you see, police are kneeling with the protesters, a black woman collapsing in the arms of a policeman who is trying to console her, a little black kid with tears in his eyes, and the white policeman has his arm around him saying, "It's going to be okay, son." I mean, I get emotional about these things.
Well, it's as you say, these problems that we have today are so complex. A song isn't going to change the world, but it can be the start of people talking and understanding and learning from each other.
On a day like today, we pass the time away, writing love letters in the sand.
1224 Dean Richards, Sunday morning, WGN. The legendary Pat Boone on the phone line with us. Pat, after talking with you for the past few minutes, I feel like you haven't lost anything. You still sound just as vigorous and as energetic as you were when you recorded this song, "Love Letters in the Sand."
Dean, I am. It's miraculous. I play tennis every week, singles, with this younger guy. He's only 81. And and I'm 86 as of June 1st, and we still play singles, and it was almost 100-degree temperature. I mean, I will say we were pushing it a little to be playing as competitively as we do, going for everything, and I think you'd be surprised at how we cover the court. But yeah, I'm healthy. I've been gaining about 12 to 15 pounds. I haven't weighed myself during this coronavirus shutdown. I can't go to the gym. I can't work out and steam like I usually do several times a week. But I am singing, and I am still writing, and I'm finishing my last book. I think it's the most important book I've written, and I'm also finishing a song that I think will be even more important than the "Can't We Get Along" song, because it's the name of Jesus in Hebrew, and it was revealed by Israel's premier, oldest rabbi, 106-year-old Rabbi Yitzhak Kaduri. And just before his passing, he came out of the study on the Day of Atonement and told his followers, he was still teaching, Messiah has appeared to me and told me his name. And he wrote it down, and it was revealed by his instruction a couple of years ago, a year after his passing. And I was with Prime Minister Netanyahu in his office, just he and I. He's a friend. He always calls me Speedy whenever we're together, because he was at MIT when he was in college, and he loved Elvis, and he loved me and my music, and he calls me Speedy for Speedy Gonzalez.
Oh,
he
that's
says,
right.
"Hello, Speedy, come on in."
Yeah.
And so I was with him, asking him if he knew the controversy about the death of this revered rabbi, 106 years old, and he said, "Oh, we stood in the streets, 300,000 of us, when they blew the shofar at his passing." Yes, of course, he supported my presidency, and we're friends. We were. And I said, "Well, are you familiar with the controversy since his passing?" And he didn't seem to be. And I said, "Well, he reveals the name of the Messiah in his own handwriting." And Netanyahu said, "Which is?" I said, Yeshua, salvation in Hebrew. And I heard Netanyahu say, Jesus. I said, yes, your own rabbi. Now, I figured that name has to be a song that Christians and Jews can sing together. So I've been working with Michael Lomardian, who is a tremendous arranger, producer. And we finished the song. Now we're finishing the track that I will sing it to. And that may be my last song. And the book I'm writing is my last book, but I'm still playing singles tennis and still able to sing. So
good for you. Well,
I have no complaints.
I'll tell you what, when this new single comes out, I'd like you to come back on the show so we can play it and talk about it a little more. What a delight to talk to you here today.
Well, thank you, Dean, because WGN has a special place in my heart because when my career was just getting started, I think he was the top DJ then in Chicago, Howard Miller.
Sure.
Do you remember that name?
Uncle Moo Moo, they called him.
Way before your time.
Yeah, I remember listening to Howard Miller. I do remember it, yeah.
And he produced shows, hosted shows at the Chicago Theater. And I performed there with Della Reese, the Four Lads, and other performers, and concerts that were sponsored by Howard Miller. And he, of course, was so in my corner when it came to my recordings. Whenever I would record a rhythm and blues song, and there would be, for instance, the very first one I ever did. My first record was Two Hearts, Two Kisses, which is a cover of an R&B song by the Charms on the Dutone label called Two Hearts, Two Kisses. Well, the cover record has gotten a bad name as if that was something wrong. We all were covering each other back then. Andy Williams and I and Frank Sinatra recorded that same song, Two Hearts, Two Kisses. Doris Day recorded that same song, the Lancers and the Castro Sisters, and I was the only absolute unknown in the bunch, but my record was the closest to the sound and the feeling of the R&B record, which wasn't played on pop radio. It was called race music.
Yeah.
But Howard Miller loved my record, and he and Bill Randall in Cleveland both declared my record over Frank Sinatra's and Doris Day's recordings because they didn't sound like rhythm and blues at all, but I did.
Yeah.
And that was the starting of my career. So WGN was almost a cradle for me.
Well, I'd love to have you back on WGN because I also want to talk to you about your movies. I happened to be switching around and I saw State Fair the other day, which I loved when I was younger.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody texted in and remembering Journey to the Center of the Earth. I mean, you've been in some fantastic movies, and we have to stop now, but when your next single is ready, come back on and we'll talk about that and some of your movies.
Well, we don't even have to wait for that. Just whenever you call, I'll be here.
All right. Make me this promise though. In the meantime, take it easy on those 81-year-olds, will you, please?
Yes, I've got to be kind to my juniors.
The legendary Pat Boone joining us. It's a pleasure to talk to you, and I hope you have a great Sunday today. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Dean.